And speaking of stocks, Kanishka, let's take a look at the handover coming in from Wall Street.
Well, absolutely, Shransi. Well, very good morning, first of all. Now, let's take a look at the US handover. Well, US stocks closed higher for the first time in 3 days after the Federal Reserve kept interest rates unchanged and signaled that it is in no rush to cut, citing a resilient economy. Now, the Federal Reserve kept its benchmark overnight borrowing rate at 4.25% to 4.5%, a move that was widely expected. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained over 280 points. The S&P 500 rose about 0.4%, while the Nasdaq Composite edged up 0.3%. Now, these gains were supported by strength in tech stocks. The session, however, was marked by volatility as investors digested the Fed's stance on inflation and policy rate. Now, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged that while the U.S. economy appears healthy today, the impact of rising uncertainty could emerge in the coming months. Now, investors are now looking ahead to other economic reports due to be released on Thursday. Now, weekly jobless claims data is set to be released before the opening bell, while the New York Fed survey of consumer expectations is slated for later in the day. Meanwhile, this stacked earnings week continues with energy name ConocoPhillips and media giant Warner Bros. Discovery scheduled to report their results before market open. Following that will be legacy media player Paramount Global, which is set to report its earnings later in the day.
Really, that's what we're looking at in terms of earnings then. But tell you what, let's shift the spotlight to oil prices then, because you do have a fall coming in as far as oil prices are concerned. You do have the Federal Reserve, in fact, that is seeing growing economic uncertainty, and investors are looking towards the US-China trade talks this weekend. That's something that there's a little bit of optimism around. So when you take a look at Brent crude, you do have a fall coming in of just about $1 a barrel, or 1.6% thereabout, and $61 a barrel is the kind of level that Brent managed to maintain. Regardless of this fall coming in, US WTI as well fell just about $1 as well. 1.7% downtick coming in for US WTI and a settle around that $58 a barrel level. Now, both benchmarks in fact plunged to 4-year lows this week after OPEC Plus decided to speed up output increases for the second time this year, stoking fears of oversupply at a time when you do have US tariffs that have already increased concerns when it comes to energy demand globally. The US and China are, in fact, like I mentioned, due to meet in Switzerland, which could be the first step towards resolving a trade war disrupting the global economy. So that definitely is something that we're looking at. According to analysts, you do have a volatility that is expected to persist on quicker than expected OPEC plus supply. That's been quite the concern, just like I mentioned, while US policy making remains unpredictable at this point. And that's also something that we're looking at. But moving on, then let's shift the spotlight to gold prices, because a fall of more than 1% is we're seeing even for the yellow metal, pressured by a firmer dollar and US-China trade talks optimism that is chipping away at safe haven demand. You do have the Federal Reserve holding those important interest rates steady. So just about a 1.1% thereabout downtick coming in for spot gold as well.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.